and welcome to the Free Cheese, episode 547. I am your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games, brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. This week, we're going to take a look at DemiKids Light version and DemiKids Dark version, and see how they stack up not only against the likes of Pokémon, but also the likes of the list. More on that later. Matt, what was the first Megami Tensei game that you tried playing?
Nocturne, or Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne. And it was only just 2 short years ago. No, 3 years ago, I guess, at this point.
Man. Yeah, I forgot they did that re-release.
Yeah, it was one that I got that like release day. So whenever that was 2020 or 2021, I can't remember. That was a release trailer that actually worked.
Yeah, it was a good trailer. They have always, I think historically, any Megami Tensei game has a really, really good trailer. I don't remember my first one. It was probably one of the Personas on PSP, probably Persona 3. Maybe Persona 3. I don't remember. What was the first Megami Tensei game that you finished?
That's a big... Whoa, I guess this one. Otherwise, it's a big 0-4. Yeah. It's not big. It's only 2 that I haven't finished, and I blame 5's absurd difficulty.
Yeah, 5 is nuts. I'm curious to see how that new version shakes out later this year with some quality of life changes. And there's stuff now like you can save anywhere, so that helps, but... we'll see. No, DemiKids Dark version was the first game I technically ever finished and rolled credits on. There's a handful I'm like 70% of the way through and just kind of fell off. Persona 5 Royal, I'm like, I know I'm close, but just can never... I think my problem is I have so many of them now that the second I start taking a step in any of them, I'm like, oh wait, I never finished. I should go back to that one. But DemiKids, thanks to us putting it on the list, I got to roll credits. DemiKids Dark version and Light version, developed by Atlus, published by Atlus, first release on October 7th, 2003 in North America for the Game Boy Advance. Back of the box, although these are different versions of the same game, there are... both boxes have identical descriptions, so here we go. The year is 2000X. Jin, Akira, and Lena are 6th grade friends who have grown up together. They're also members of the Mystery Club, which searches for interesting and mysterious things. While snooping around the school's library, they happen upon a mysterious book containing various spells and incantations. Curiosity overwhelms the group as they decide to carry out a summoning ritual, unprepared for the consequences. To their surprise, an evil demon appears, and their only hope comes from a peculiar new student, Amy, who gives Jin and Akira the power to capture and summon demons by way of the gun-like Demilock. They are also joined by Rand and Gale, guardian demons sent to protect them. The group ultimately ends up in the fantasy land of Valhalla, where they will face the evil responsible for this time-space rift. Matt, why did we choose DemiKids Dark version, DemiKids Light version?
It's a Pokemon knockoff.
Yeah, that's kind of it. This was actually one of the first games, along with the Guardian Legend, one of the first games I had on the list. I never knew that this series existed. I never realized that Atlus tried to ride the Pokemon wave and release some games more targeted at children for in the Shin Megami Tensei series. And when I found out about this and saw that it was kind of like there's 2 versions, they're companions, there's 360 something demons you can collect and you can trade and you can battle, it just seemed right. And then with us looking at Pokemon Gold and Silver next week, and as part of our Wii Sports Killer series we're doing this year, it just seemed extra perfect to take a look at these DemiKids games. So there's actually a handful of Devil Children games. DemiKids is just part of the Devil Children series. Quickly, for Game Boy Color, you had Red Book and Black Book. And then there was a PlayStation remake that combined both games into one. Then you had White Book on Game Boy Color, and that was a sequel to both Red and Black, but it was kind of like, I guess, yellow to red and blue.
I was going to make a joke about that, but all right, thank you for just stating the obvious.
There's Dark Version and Light Version, which we're going to talk about today, followed by Book of Fire and Book of Ice, which are direct sequels to these games and carry the same characters forward, all of that. Then you have Puzzle de Call, a puzzle game that stars the characters from Light and Dark. Like, there's Gale and Rand are there, and it's still there. They're trying to find their friends, but it's a puzzle game. There's Messiah Riser, which is a real-time strategy game that stars the characters from Light and Dark. And then the last thing in the line, so the last game to come out was 2004 with Messiah Riser. Then in 2011, just a random Devil Children mobile game came out in Japan. It was like a social kind of game on phones, and that was it. There's not been another game in the series. So Matt, this was one I added to the list for the year for season 12, but we do a soft review together, and we kind of not necessarily veto anything, but we tweak our submissions, or we have the opportunity to. When we did that, why didn't you counter this one, and why didn't we just play a Persona game?
I guess I like the I don't know. I think I'd like these games, and I like the Shin Megami Tensei games. I think I've said here before, it feels like the more adult Pokemon game that I wanted Pokemon to be. And so, yeah, let's just make a kids version of it and try playing that one. Why not?
Yeah, which we'll get into, but I found there's a lot of stuff in here that I don't know if it's especially kid-friendly.
No, I think I agree with that statement.
I don't know about your game, but my game spent a lot of time returning to and working with Lucifer, which I feel like a lot of parents would frown upon I don't know.
I mean, I saw someone die in cold murder.
Oh, yeah. I had
Revenge, actually. But yeah, cold murder.
So I guess that brings us to the differences between the two versions. We're going to talk about how it differs from the Megami Tensei games, but also how it's pretty much just the same as any other in the series. But there are two versions of the game, and while I think most people familiar with games that have two versions or would recall, there's stuff like obviously the Pokemon are a friend of mine, but even things like there's some Mega Man games, there's some other games like that have multiple versions in their releases. Usually there's not many differences between the two. Obviously in Pokemon, you can catch some in one version you can't catch in the other, and vice versa, and you can trade with your friends to fill out your Pokedex or your collection. This game actually diverts quite a bit in its story. So I thought we should open this up just by kind of a quick plot summary, just to see, because I really have no idea where yours differs from mine. I have some ideas, but I'm not positive. So in Dark Version, Akira, Jin, Lena, right on the back of the box, they form a school club to investigate mysteries. Amy shows up, makes friends with them. They find a book on how to summon demons. They do just that. But when things go awry, Amy says, hey, here's some Demilocks. These are some guns that you can use to summon demons. And because we learned that Jin and Akira are both DemiKids and capable of summoning demons using the Demilock, they summon these new kind of guardian demons. Akira summons Gale, who becomes his guardian and partner for the rest of the game. once the demon kind of runs off, then we see a rift appear. Amy explains that it's a time distortion that, if left to grow too large, will destroy the future. Akira makes his way, eventually, I'm kind of glossing over, but generally, we make our way to Lucifer, who teaches Akira that time rifts can be closed using time chains. So, one by one, Akira goes through the world to the ice land, to the wind land, collects time chains, and closes time rifts until eventually he's able to return to Valhalla, where Amy is from. Once he travels there, you're kind of jumping between current and future versions of Dem, the hometown where the kids grow up. And eventually you return to Lucifer, who says, hey, Valhalla was created by the Dark Lord and Lord Light. Both creators left letters for the DemiKids in the future. Whoever these DemiKids end up being, they can help save the consequences of them creating Valhalla. So Akira returns back, retrieves the letter, and in turn gets the time key, which lets him basically infinitely close those time rifts. There's no longer a finite number of time chains. It's now just the time key. Akira returns to Lucifer, is granted the power of the dark, obviously. We meet up with Jin. This is the first time Jin and Akira come back together, back in Valhalla, to confront the rulers of the Imperium, and then we fight Cypher, the final boss. That's kind of dark version in a nutshell. What do you got for light version?
It's kind of the inverse in a weird way. So, again, Jin, your event. So what's interesting from the start that you actually got to meet Amy. I was just told Amy found out how to summon cool demons because I wasn't in the class. So I go meet Amy, teaches how to summon cool demons, and she also hands me a Nerf gun. It's called a Demilock or a plasma pistol. Looks a lot like either or. I don't know which way to go. Same thing with the time rifts, but instead of going to Dem, I go to Valhalla, where I traveled to the first town. Kind of told the Imperium army is a bad force, and there's the Rebel army, pretty much straight out of Star Wars. That's when I meet some of the characters, including Drail. I meet Shin as well. Meet Shin, some others, Drail. But fun things. And then this. I think I learned. I forget what character tells me, but someone tells me that but Akira discovered that time rifts can be closed. With those. What was the thing? What was the item? I don't have it written down.
The time chains.
The time chains. So I'm told I should go collect those. I find them from a prisoner from the same prison that events Amy was taken prisoner. So on my way to rescue her, I find them, and then I go back to the regular world where school is. I don't remember the name of it. Sorry. But I was closing some of the time rifts in that world, trying to get things all sorted out. And then I did run into an Imperium enemy there. And I overheard that Drail was a traitor to the rebels. And that's how Amy got captured and others got captured. So then we go back. I forget. The events send me. So yeah, events send me to Dem, and this is where we have our inverse, because I'm going back and forth in Dem between times because Lucifer was murdered.
Oh. Yeah,
so actually Shin murdered Lucifer, but was being controlled or manipulated by someone named Forlo.
Okay.
So yeah,
Forlo showed up at the beginning of my game. Okay.
Okay, alright, so I go back into the past to the moment right before that happened. I intervene. Forlo is killed. I can't remember if Shin did it or I did it. And then it's the same thing. We're told to get letters to then return back to Lucifer to let him know, like, yo, we're the DemiKids. Some other stuff. But one of the events set that Lucifer sends us on. I forget which letter it is, but we confront Drail, and then Shin kills Drail in revenge for being a traitor. That's the cold-blooded murder I saw. It wasn't even a fight. He just went straight away and just killed him. And then, we find out Lena was assassinated through events. I think Drail was the one that communicated that. I can't remember the order of everything here. The recap was also not very clear that I read. But essentially, we're some back and forth with Lucifer into the past, into the future, into the present, with letters back and forth saying, hey, we're the DemiKids. And the second is almost like an MFA, authentication. Here's the second letter that you need to know that we're a DemiKid. And then, that's when I meet up back with Akira. I thought it was in Elysium they met up. Or was it Valhalla first, and then they met in Elysium before the final confrontation?
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah.
Okay. And then, they go to the Imperius Castle and face the final boss. But my final boss, I think, was just like Imperius.
You didn't have the guy with the one eye that looked like a Guardian Legend fight?
I don't think so.
Interesting. That's cool that we had two separate ones then.
I can double check that part real quick, I think.
It sounds like, to your point, it is, you had like the inverse experience that I had, and they kind of yin and yang one another. But at the same time, I don't feel like they're too wholly different. It's the same story, just seeing it in two different perspectives. It's essentially a and B route of Nier Automata, right?
Yeah.
So then I think that answers a question that Matt and I had before recording, which was, do we rank these separately? And I think the answer is no. I think we rank them together when we eventually get to the list.
Yeah, sorry, to clarify my story, Emperor was being controlled by Cypher, and I was wrong. It wasn't Imperius. It was MPO was being controlled by Quasir.
Okay.
Did you also have a 5-stage boss fight, though?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, where he shifts and transforms, and
it's not clear why he's shifting, but you just keep attacking. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Cypher. Oh, yeah, they look similar. I just went back and forth between the two.
Okay.
It's it's like your Pokemon Legendary versus another Pokemon Legendary. They're similar, kind of.
Yeah. Right, that makes sense. That's a good comparison. But I think so that playing through it, the thing that stood out to me is like how much it still is a Megami Tensei game, but it's also it's a departure in its own way. Like the Mega 10 games always have a story. It's not that they're without story, but this one just felt like the story was the core of everything. I felt like in the other games I've played, you end up like dungeon crawling a lot more. Like there's no dungeon here. It's all open world. It's very much in that like Pokemon-esque or just general RPG. Like you're wandering through an overworld. There's random encounters that happen, and then you go to towns in between. And it feels very much like any other traditional RPG in that sense. But when you get into battle, it has all of the stuff you expect from a Mega 10 game. It's first person. You're able to fight, but also try to recruit demons, which comes into the kind of monster catching, so to speak, in this game. There's, I think, by the time this comes out, or its predecessors too on Game Boy Color, there's a handful of games that do monster catching. There's obviously Pokemon, but there's Dragon Quest V has it. There's some Dragon Quest spin-offs that have it. But the Mega 10 games have been doing it since 87, where you're recruiting demons, and it's no different here. So it's a bit different than what you'd expect, because you don't have to wear down your enemy. If you're listening and you've not played any game in the series, this one's just like the rest, where you really just need to convince the demon that you're up against to come with you. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. And I think the recruitment system here compared to other games in the series feels a lot... There's fewer things you need to have in place. There's like playing this also got me to return back to Soul Hackers on 3DS. And being in there, it's like, of course your level needs to be there, but you also need to like say the right things and pay attention to their mood and their kind of and the moon. You have to pay attention to like what moon cycle it's in. You have to pay attention to what type of demon you're talking to and what their like emotion is, because you have to choose your words specifically. All of that stuff weighs into it. Where here it was just kind of like, who do you want to recruit? Who do you want to use to do the recruitment? Because you could choose between your primary guardian demon. In my case, it was Gale. Or you could choose another demon in your party. And then you had to choose... You really just had two options for your like alignment of how you'd recruit them.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that felt like a coin flip. Like I never knew if I was going to actually get somebody.
For sure.
You know, I feel like in the other games, because you have a bit more options and you start to understand, like, when someone says something that sounds sarcastic, you know to answer sarcastic. You can kind of pick up on their personalities a bit. This one, I never felt confident that I was going to actually recruit somebody. It was always just like, I'll just go with the top option and see what I get. Not until like you try and recruit some way lower level demons did I actually feel like I got this easy.
Yeah, I would say kind of towards the end of this game, I felt like I had to kind of do some leveling, but you're not really leveling your demons. It's more like got to keep fusing them together, which I guess that's another mechanic we didn't get into. But yeah, but with the recruitment thing, it wasn't when I was kind of getting a lot of the same demon, I kind of found out like a character and like a kind of a mood to kind of pick, and I found like what felt like a coin flip was more like a probability roll than. Yeah. But that was the only time I felt confident, was once I kind of got a gist of like, all right, I can get that character with this character and this maybe type of response, which of course took 5 tries before that to kind of nail down.
Yeah. You mentioned fusion, so that's the only character that levels up is your main guardian demon. The rest of the demons you recruit only level up by fusing them with others. So there's a very complicated fusion chart, if you look at it, that'll kind of show you what your results might be. Generally, though, fusing 2 demons, if you fuse identical demons, you will, I think, almost always get an identical demon that's potentially powered up. The second option is fusing 2 demons. You may get one, like, depending on their compatibility, the result will be kind of like your base demon, but powered up. You're just kind of like feeding the one into the other. And the third type of fusion is like, you recruit both and you get a brand new demon out of it that is also stronger. And more often than not, you can inherit moves from the first 2 demons. So you can kind of, really fuse the best of 2 demons together. How about fusion? Did you ever feel confident with fusion?
Once I started using the chart. At first I was very, let me just put 2 demons together and see what happens. But then I realized that, this chart can guide me in the right direction.
Yeah.
Because I was never really looking for anything terribly specific. I was just trying to get levels and then get a gist of, I don't know, I kind of found myself, I needed strength, I think was kind of what I was trending towards. So I was kind of looking for like the highest strength up numbers compared to some other stuff. But that chart was very helpful. I forget the name of it, but it's the second option when you're talking to the fusion person.
Yeah. So how did you end up constructing your party then?
That strength number and just looking for the highest level. There was no rhyme or reason. I wasn't looking at like the Pokedex of demons, or let's call it something specific. I was making a dumb joke, but
yeah, they have a name for it.
Demon. There's a name for it. I want to say that, but I'm not totally sure.
There's a lot of menu options in the game. Like, there's a lot of menus and submenus. Like, the game has way more depth than I think you would expect it to. Because I did kind of go into this thinking, like, okay, it's something in the Mega 10 world, but it's for kids, so it's going to be a bit dumbed down. But I think the only thing that was dumbed down is, like, the demon art and the character art. They all look a little bit like they're just larger sprites, and they're sort of like shorter and fatter. All of the sprite art is all kind of like, I don't know. They're not more like, even the humanoid demons look like squatty in different areas where I don't know, they all kind of have like a roundness to them. But other than that, like, I feel like the game is still just as complicated as any other Mega 10 game.
Is it the Demonic Compendium?
That sounds right. Yeah, I mostly constructed my party out of who looked cool, plus also who had the better stats. I was also, like, trying to be conscious of, like, who had different abilities that could help fill up my party. Because there's some of them... Like, I was recruiting anybody I could, but then I'd look and check their moveset, and, like, if they had anybody with a healing ability, it was like, all right, how can I fuse something into you to make you stronger, that kind of stuff. Was always really helpful to have one, like, dedicated healer in the party. And at first you have the Demi-Lock, which lets you summon the demons. Later on, you unlock or I don't know what yours is called. Mine was called the King Lock.
Yes, King Lock.
Okay. When you unlock that, now you can have 3 facing party members. So you have, like, sort of 3 lanes to play from. One is always going to be your guardian demon. The other 2, you can line up 3 in each. So you end up with a total, or is it 4? I feel like it's 6.
3.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 3 and 3.
Yeah, you end up with 6 potential demons that can kind of, like, rotate in if someone gets knocked out. So,
but then you said the demon stuff gets crazy. That's where only specific types of demons can go into. Sorry, any demon go into the King Lock, but yes, some demon types can't go, or like tiers can't go into the Demi Lock.
Yes,
which throws a wrench into party construction.
Yeah, you're very restricted by the end of the game with some of the stuff because you really want to use this combination, but yeah, you can't put both, which works out, I think. Yeah, did you have any favorite demons? Anybody that stood out to you, or?
I mean, Succubus, sure.
I didn't expect Succubus to be in the game at all. Knowing the character's visual history, and then even seeing what the visual history was here, I feel like, look, man, it's a tough job, but I feel like ESRB maybe didn't ever encounter a Succubus in the game.
Probably not. There was another, like, weird demon lady. I can't remember their name, but I feel like they were holding their head.
Oh, that's cool.
Like a zombie. I might be wrong, but I feel like I remember some dying woman type. But no, again, I was just chasing that strike number, and yeah, but like by the time I complete this game, I have Seraphim and Fire Tongue for those that know,
Yeah. If you know, you
know. But yeah, no, really, just like. I was just chasing, especially, I mean, that was one of the things I was going to bring up, but, like, I was just kind of cruising for the most part. I mean, I was battling and recruiting and leveling. It wasn't like I was just like, oh, I'm using my level 5 part the entire time. Yeah, but, like, there's a point here where I just felt like I was cruising and all of a sudden it fell behind. Like, just like that. And then I also fucked up my fusing. I didn't keep track of it. I lost a reviver. So if a demon went down, I was real fucked. So had to play a little. Had to, what was it? Wing? Was it wing out of there? Was that the teleportation item? Wing. Yeah. Had to do that once out of the Ice Palace, which is later in the game. But no, yeah, really, I was just chasing numbers. I really didn't. I would say if it sounded cool, caught my attention, I would go to that one first.
Yeah. There's some staples. I feel like Jack Frost is always, like, if I find a Jack Frost, I'm going to recruit him, put him in the party until something stronger comes along, and then I'll fuse him and just steal his ice powers for someone else.
Go.
Bear Lord was the one I was surprised about. I'd never seen that in another Mega 10 game. I liked Bear Lord quite a bit. The other thing I like, I mean, just generally, this is not this game specific, but I like how so many of the demons are also often real world figures. Like, you find Horus in here and Anubis, like all the ancient Egyptian gods. I think those are always really neat to have in there. There's a lot, and they're from every religion, every culture. There's just like this huge encyclopedia of demons, and it's a neat, really, really neat exploration of that stuff. So about partway through the game, your companion demon or your guardian demon just transforms, which I was not expecting at all. The thing I noted was that the music that plays makes it seem like you're about to get into an encounter or a bad event is happening. And I was like, oh no, all right, another fight or another thing. But then Gale just evolved and is stronger, and I could use, him more effectively. There's a couple weird moments like that where just like pacing or the like sort of mood they tried to set seemed off or strange, but I assume I don't remember what your character's companion was named.
Rand.
He evolves as well, I assume.
Yeah, it's 2.
Yeah, you end up at the very end. I think mine was I forget the final form, but it's a cool big final form that's impressive. Like, it felt to me the same way you'd feel when you evolve a Pokemon to its final form when it has 3 stages. It's a really, really neat evolution. Did you ever go to the casino?
No, I never did.
I forget the name of the town, but it's it's that bigger town, like kind of, right, we've got different games, so I don't know.
No, I went to Dem.
It might have been Dem. There might have been in there.
Mine was in Dem for sure.
That's right.
It was in like the hub city and when Lucifer was like, go east or go west, it was always from that town.
Okay, got it. You're right. Yep. Okay, so it was same place. I abused save states to try and win big at the casino, and I did it. And I maxed out the chips, like it filled up 9999999. I had them all because I thought I could then go back and sell them. Because one of the things I was struggling with really early on was money, and because you need money in order to heal and revive your characters if you don't have the fun or the items to do that. You'll find some of those items throughout the world, and obviously you will get demons who can revive and heal, but like they'll run out of magic points at some point. So you need to heal, like you need money to do this stuff. And I found myself really struggling. So I was like, all right, why don't I go to the casino? I will cheat my way through and I'll get all these chips and then I'll sell them back. So I basically have infinite money. And you can't. You can only use your chips to buy stuff from the casino shop. So I bought a bunch of items that I, inevitably used in combat. And then you can buy some demons from the shop. And they're like, at this point, like, Gale is like level 5 or 10 or something low, like not even that high. The demons you get from the casino were like 58. So I couldn't even bring them into my party yet. Because I guess I said before, the only thing that levels up is your companion, but you as a character also level up as well, which your level affects or dictates what demon level you can recruit or fuse or whatever. So, yeah, even Akira is at the most level 11, and I'm getting like a level 58, almost 60 demon. And I ended up beating the game without ever using that demon. C'est la vie, right? I guess it just don't go cheat. It does not pay off.
Why couldn't you have sold the items?
You could have, but they sold for really low amounts that it was not worth it to buy a bunch and then sell. Like it would have been a bunch of back and forth. And they weren't like... There were a couple of items I was finding. I forget what they were. Oh, they were the things you could feed to your guardian demon that like increased its attack or speed or those types of things. Those sold for really well. So anything that wasn't selling for that high, I just looked at it like it was not worth it. But what's your overall takeaway of the game?
That silence doesn't go well on audio only. It's fine. Not bad. It's not the greatest gotta catch 'em all demon thing. I think this game is one of those ones where I will recommend a walkthrough, especially once you're going back and forth
that
through
part
time.
Killed me. Yep.
There is just so many gates and navigation things you would have to remember or know. And like the way some of that's designed, like you jump twice is very weird. Like I get the jumping once, but like at one point, like you have to go. I think it's because of the way the light and dark games are. Like you have to go to the Tower of Time for past, present, future. Mm-hmm. You have to go back to the school to go between Dem and Valhalla. And then, of course, you have your other, your towns within them. And you can't just, I say wing again, but like use that teleportation item to go from Dem to Valhalla. You have to be in the hub world. And again, some of that is just like really weird the way it's designed. Like you have to hit like 5 gates to get to where you need to go.
It's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and this is also while like fighting random demons, which at times felt like every single step I was hitting a demon, especially in areas you didn't want to be hitting demons.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that was probably my biggest complaint about the game is that stuff. The fight system's basic. I like the... And this, excuse my ignorance on all the Shin Megami Tensei games, but like 3 and 5 have a very cool and unique weakness and strength system where if you're if you attack and you hit, you hit their weakness, like you use fire on ice, you get to go again, and that's like plays into the strategy of how you're fusing that, what kind of party you're bringing to that encounter. Like how you fight that boss fight. There's a bunch of strategy with that. And the same thing for against you, too. If the enemies hitting your weakness, they go again. So, yeah, like you have to kind of consider that kind of stuff. In this game, it was just kind of like, all right, well, who was like the faster of the two, or the party, I guess the party demons.
Because there are types in this, and there are... there's weaknesses, and doing that, like, you'll do greater damage, but I never felt like I learned type charts or had a good understanding of, like, what affected what. Like, there's basic ones like fire and ice, right? But without looking something up, it just was not, like, right there. I think the only, like, where I forgive the game a bit is, like, I feel like we know the Pokemon stuff so well because We played the games forever as kids. We watched the show. It was something we talked about with everybody. Like, it's just kind of ingrained at this point.
I would say, though, I was thinking about this because, again, I struggled as well with the weakness and also, to be fair, and going to gold and silver. Well, I mean, we'll talk about this more next week, but like going into that for the first time and having some new types, I was like, what counter steal? But like in this game, I think it's harder because in Pokemon, the name either gives it away, like a pseudo Woodo. It looks like a fucking tree. All right, I'm assuming it's leaf, and I can burn the fuck out of it.
Right.
In this game, there's a lot of like demons like could walk a fine line, and like you said, there's like ancient Egyptian thing. Like, are they dark? Are they light?
Yeah.
Like, there's stuff there that's not quite clear in the name or the character sprite. That, you know, in Pokemon, not every single one of them is like you can easily tell, but I feel like it's
even
easier.
That's the trick with him, right? Yeah. You can't burn him.
But yeah, like I don't know. I feel like Pokemon it's more of a dead giveaway.
Usually, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you never quite know. There's a few, right? Like Jack Frost, burn him, got it.
Burn, yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, it's tough to know.
Yeah, Kyuki. You know, what do you do against that?
Who?
I just looked at my demon list here and just said a random one.
How do you kill Seth? What do you do with that? What is Seth's weakness?
Anku. Kyuki. What is this? It's like a cat with wings.
Sure. Of course it is.
Yeah, but there you go. Mermaid. Is electric in this game? I remember now.
I think there's a shock ability. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yes. I think. Yeah, it's called shock, isn't it?
I think, or zap, maybe
something.
Yeah.
Not thunder.
No. The other thing that I agree with you. Like I felt like wandering through the world was easy until it wasn't, and then I was really reliant on the guide just as a quick glance of like, which direction do I head in? Which should I be in the past, the present, the future? Where do I need to go right now? Because I don't know what to do. That was helpful. It was essential, honestly. I really liked the music, and I didn't realize how much I liked the music until I was nearing the end of the game, and I put headphones on and listened to, and like the battle theme was the first one that like really stood out, and I was like, oh, this is actually super nuanced and super good, and I want to hear what all of this sounds like with headphones on. And I was so happy to be wearing headphones when I played the final boss. The final boss, I remember right before the final boss, you fight someone who I thought was the final boss, and it was the same battle theme, and I like grabbed my phone immediately before even making the first attack and like made a note like, can't believe they used the same battle theme for the final boss of the game. I was like so disappointed because the music had been so good up to that point. But then you actually get to the final boss, and not only does it have its own music, but because of it being multi-staged, I loved that the music changed throughout that. It was really cool. I was very underprepared for that final fight. I should have spent some more time leveling and all of that, but I kind of just got there and made it happen somehow. And then the one thing that lasted with me at the end was you get the choice at the end of the game, because you beat the story, but you get a choice of, do you want more adventure? Would you like to rest and recuperate, or rebirth? And I love that idea that like you would get all the way to the end of the game and then just, delete my save, let's start from scratch. But I like that it's an option. Or more adventure just throws you right back in, but kind of like right before the final boss. I was impressed thoroughly. Anything on DemiKids light version in your case that we didn't cover that you wanted to cover?
Yeah, I one thing, I wish the menuing was better.
It's
in the
too
terms,
layered.
In the terms of, like, I have all these demons in the bank. I want to fuse the demons in the bank.
Oh, that's the worst.
But I can only hold 6. Oh, wait, I can only hold maybe 5 because...
Essentially, yeah, right.
Yeah, because of King Lock parameters. And I want to combine all these. Oh, I have to go back and forth. It became like a 15-minute chore when I was leveling up towards the end of this game to go in and out, in and out. And then, with that, like, you need like a pen and paper to write down the possibilities if you're I gave up. I just like, all right, I'm putting these ones in. I'm seeing what I can make. All right, got these. Yep. All right, let's see what I can make with these now. All right, that's that. And kind of just chasing the strength number. And again, maybe that's why I stopped kind of caring what kind of demons I had. I just kind of wanted, like, I just want to get it done because I was tired of looking, and going back and forth. But man, that menu was not good in that condition. And
it's not even a thing because I tried really hard to like remember that this is 2003, that whatever. But like, there's other games in the Mega 10 series that I've played from prior to this that fusion is just straight up what you've got. Like, it's much easier. This was so cumbersome to just like step through and do any of that stuff.
I guess there was a specific moment where I made this note because my note says specifically lots of navigating through menus to condense 17 demons to about 8.
Yeah. Yeah, and even more if you wanted to condense those 8 down to 6 or 5 or 4. Like, it's it's too much.
That was like a thing that I wish a little quality of life there would have. I think honestly it probably would have bumped a point or a half a point somewhere because that was definitely, for as much as I think without a guide I would add probably 50% more of my playtime to the game. I think this added maybe about 10% to my playtime.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the last like kind of note that we hadn't hit yet.
The only other thing I had, I did like the writing, not just the story plot, because I feel like the plot was engaging at least, right? Like it's not a story that's like particularly original, right? Like it's a dark and a light thing creates like there's this whole like.
But there's more effort than Pokemon.
Exactly, and I feel like there's more effort put in this in so many different areas. But I also like the actual like individual writing. There were a lot of lines that were said where like most characters you talk to, most things that are spoken in games like this, especially a game that's targeted towards kids, nothing stands out as like text that you should remember or would remember. But the very opening of the game, there's a quote that it caught me off guard that I like stopped and wrote it down where he says, "When the fabric of time is worn, tomorrow shall fade." And it was just like, this is like deeper than whatever. But even more, there's one later on where he says, "Time is both a key to creation and a vessel for destruction." Like, it's stuff that's like plucked out of poetry in a way that's just like injected into this 2003 Game Boy Advance game about summoning demons. I don't know. I was fascinated with this game the whole way through. I looked up all the other games in the series. I don't know how many of them are actually in English. So I think we may have played the only ones that are.
I think this is the only one that came over.
Yeah. So unless Atlus starts pulling back from the well.
I don't think it will.
You don't think we'll get these? Even these? You think these will hit like Switch Online, or Atlus does like a bundled service kind of, or release these?
No, I think, unless like the new Persona remasters like kill.
Yeah,
I doubt it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. They're not.
I will say though, this has me, especially around the timing of the Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. It's just unfortunate at release date. It's gonna kill me.
Just have to skip Elden Ring, dude.
Oh yeah, just skip it. Yep, no problem.
Done and done. Well, Matt and listener, what we do on this podcast every week is rank the video games we play on a list that we call The List. You can follow along with the list at thefreecheese.com/thelist, where to date, we've ranked 86 games. And DemiKids Light version and Dark version are the next to join. I'm feeling good on this one.
How good? I'm feeling good, but I don't think I'm feeling a certain way good.
I can go like a 45 good, or maybe even like a 41 good, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think I'm with you in that.
All right. We've got a starting point. Is it better than Mass Effect 2?
Probably not.
So is it 45? Is it better than X-Men 2?
I think I like the X-Men 2 Clone Wars better, to be honest.
All right, shoot.
But yeah, I don't know. X-Men 2's ending sucks. I hate that so much, and that leaves a poor taste in my mouth. I mean, my biggest complaint about this game is you might want to play with a guide, which is the preferred way to play Earthbound. So, what can I do to complain about that? The menu sucks. I will double down on that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I like this better than Windjammers.
Yeah. I think you can go at 45. No, I think you can go at 45.
All right.
There's some interesting stuff. There's some fun boss fights. Interesting sprite design on the demons.
There it is. Your new number 45, DemiKids Light version, DemiKids Dark version. Listeners, come back next week. We will not be ranking Pokemon Gold and Silver, but we will be talking a whole lot about them in part 1 of our Pokemon Gold and Silver series. Next week, we are journeying through Johto, covering everything up through the end of the Elite
The credits.
Four.
Before
Yes.
the credits.
So come back, check it out. Until then, you should go to thefreecheese.com. You should tell your friends to go to thefreecheese.com. At this point, we've got 87 games. I'm sure there's something on the list that would interest you. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye.